After 7 years together, I found my husband was cheating with multiple women online and had a secret girlfriend for almost a year. Shockingly, my perfect husband kicked me out of our home. I never thought I would be writing something like this. My name is Gloria, 25 female, and my husband Henry, 30 male, have been together for 7 years, married for 4. We met during my first year of college when I was 18 and he was 23. He worked at the coffee shop near campus where I studied almost every day. After months of small talk, he finally asked for my number, and the rest is history. Or so I thought. Last Tuesday started like any other day. Henry got up at 6:30 a.m., kissed me goodbye, and left for work at the accounting firm where he's been employed for the past 5 years. He always came home by 6:15 p.m., never failed. That evening, Henry came home, greeted me with a hug, and went to take a shower while I finished making dinner. His phone was on the kitchen counter. We've always known each other's passcodes, not because we checked on each other, but because we simply never felt the need to hide anything. In 7 years, I had maybe used his phone 5 times, usually just to look up a recipe or check the weather when my phone was charging. While stirring the pasta sauce, a notification popped up on his screen. The name Amber appeared with a message that read, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow." I didn't recognize the name. None of his coworkers or friends were named Amber, as far as I knew. I stood there for a moment, the wooden spoon dripping sauce onto the counter. The shower was still running. Without really thinking about it, I picked up his phone and opened it with his passcode, the year we met. What I found made my hands shake so badly I almost dropped the phone. Henry had a second Twitter account I knew nothing about. His profile picture was heavily filtered, making him look younger. His bio said he was 26 and single. I clicked on his direct messages and found dozens of conversations with women who posted suggestive photos. Most were local. The messages went back months. I clicked on Amber's conversation. They had been messaging for almost a year. There were plans to meet up, flirtatious exchanges, and even more explicit messages I couldn't bring myself to read fully. From the context, it was clear they had met in person multiple times. The shower turned off. My brain finally kicked into gear, and I took screenshots of everything I could, sending them to my email before putting the phone back exactly where it had been. Henry walked into the kitchen with wet hair and a smile that now looked completely foreign to me. When he saw my face, his expression changed. Before he could say anything, I held up my phone with one of the screenshots. He froze for a second, then tried to reach for me. I stepped back. He started saying it was just a mistake, that it didn't mean anything, that he loved me. When I asked if he had physically cheated with these women, with Amber, his whole demeanor changed. His face turned red, and he started yelling about privacy and trust. He accused me of spying on him and violating his personal space. In 7 years, I had never seen Henry raise his voice like that. He was always the calm one, the reasonable one. Now he was pointing at the door, telling me to get out of our apartment, saying he needed space to think. I grabbed my purse and keys in a daze and drove to my friend Rachel's apartment. She took one look at my face and pulled me inside. After I showed her the screenshots and explained what happened, she looked at me like I was crazy. Not because of what I found, but because I seemed unsure about what to do. She pointed out that Henry hadn't even apologized, he'd just gotten angry and kicked me out of our home. I spent the night on Rachel's couch, barely sleeping. The next morning, I checked my phone to find a dozen messages from Henry, alternating between angry accusations about invading his privacy and pleas for me to come home so we could talk. I didn't respond to any of them. Rachel had to go to work, so I was alone with my thoughts. I scrolled through Reddit relationship advice forums all day. The comments from strangers helped me realize something: I deserved better than this. I deserved someone who wouldn't need to seek attention from other women behind my back. Yet something kept bothering me about the situation. Specifically, this Amber person. From the messages I'd seen, she seemed genuinely attached to Henry. Her messages were full of heart emojis and plans for the future. Did she know he was married? Was she being deceived too? After hours of deliberation, I found Amber's Twitter profile and sent her a direct message. I introduced myself as Henry's wife and asked if we could talk. I figured she deserved to know the truth as much as I did. Within minutes, she responded. Her message was full of shock and apologies. She had no idea Henry was married. He had told her he was single and lived alone. She asked if we could meet for coffee the next day, and I agreed. What did I have to lose at this point? We met at a coffee shop downtown, far from our apartment and Henry's workplace. Amber was exactly as her profile showed, mid-20s, blonde hair, pretty in a natural way. She looked like she hadn't slept either. Amber showed me their message history on her phone. They had been dating for 11 months. Henry had taken her to restaurants, movies, even weekend trips when he told me he was at business conferences. She had been to her apartment multiple times, but he always had excuses for why she couldn't come to his place. The most shocking part was that he was still messaging her after our confrontation. He had texted her that morning saying he was looking forward to seeing her the next day, as if nothing had happened. By the end of our conversation, both Amber and I were furious. She told me she had been cheated on in a previous relationship and couldn't stand the thought of Henry getting away with this. Then she proposed something unexpected, a plan to get back at him. The plan was simple but effective. She would pretend everything was normal and get Henry to invite her to his place now that I was gone. Once there, she would dump glitter all over his clothes and belongings before leaving. It seemed childish, but the thought of Henry trying to clean glitter off his expensive work suits made me laugh for the first time in days. I gave her our address and the best time to come when Henry would be home. Then I went back to Rachel's place and contacted a divorce lawyer. The next few days passed in a blur of paperwork and ignored calls from Henry. Rachel let me stay in her spare room and helped me start looking for my own place. I felt physically sick most of the time, barely eating and waking up throughout the night with my heart racing. Henry continued his pattern of alternating between angry messages and pleading ones. I saved them all for my lawyer. The only comfort I had was knowing Amber's plan was in motion, and on Friday night, it finally happened. Amber texted me throughout the evening. Henry had welcomed her warmly to his apartment, acting like the perfect gentleman. They watched a movie, and when he went to the bathroom, she struck. She had brought 3 large containers of fine pink glitter and dumped them all over his side of the closet, focusing on his work clothes. She took photos of the aftermath before leaving, making up an excuse about feeling sick. An hour later, Henry called me in a panic. He didn't mention Amber at all, just begged me to come home to help him clean his clothes for work on Monday. I finally broke my silence to tell him I had filed for divorce. The line went quiet for a moment before he started stammering in disbelief. He never thought I would actually leave. That was the moment I knew I had made the right decision. Update 1. It's been 3 weeks since my last post, and I want to thank everyone for the supportive comments and messages. They've helped more than you know during this difficult time. I'm still staying at Rachel's place while looking for an apartment I can afford on my teacher's salary. The divorce process has begun, and it's more complicated than I expected. Henry is not making things easy. After the glitter incident, his behavior became even more unpredictable. He switches between calling me horrible names in text messages and showing up at Rachel's apartment with flowers, begging for another chance. Last week, he coincidentally appeared at the grocery store where I was shopping and followed me through the aisles, trying to talk about our marriage while I pushed my cart faster and faster. Rachel has been incredible through all of this. We've been friends since high school, but our friendship had faded somewhat after I got married. Henry always had reasons why we couldn't attend gatherings with my old friends. He was tired, he had work to do, he wanted us to have a quiet night at home. Looking back, I can see how he slowly isolated me from people who cared about me. Rachel was shocked by Henry's behavior when I first told her, but she admitted she wasn't entirely surprised. She had always thought something was off about how possessive he was of my time. She never said anything because she thought I was happy and didn't want to interfere. The most unexpected development has been my friendship with Amber. After our coffee meeting and the glitter plan, we stayed in contact. At first, it was just updates about Henry and comparing notes on the lies he told us both. But soon, we started talking about other things. Amber works as a graphic designer and runs a small but growing Twitter account where she posts her artwork. She's nothing like the influencer type I initially imagined. She's actually quite private and was hesitant about posting even professional photos of herself online. Henry had pursued her aggressively after commissioning her to design a logo for what he claimed was his side business. Last weekend, Amber invited me to an art gallery opening where some of her work was being displayed. I almost didn't go. The thought of being in a crowded space made my stomach turn. But Rachel insisted it would be good for me to get out of the apartment for something other than work or divorce-related errands. The gallery was small and not very crowded. Amber's artwork was displayed in a corner, bright, abstract pieces that somehow captured exactly how chaos and order can exist simultaneously. While looking at one of her paintings, I realized I hadn't thought about Henry for over an hour. After the gallery, Amber and I went for dinner at a small restaurant nearby. She told me more about her past relationship with a man who had also lied and manipulated her for years. She explained how she rebuilt her life afterward, focusing on her art and setting boundaries with everyone in her life. The next day, I woke up to a series of messages from Henry. He had driven by Rachel's apartment late at night and seen my car. The messages became increasingly incoherent, accusing me of plotting against him and threatening to tell everyone we knew what kind of person I really was. I forwarded everything to my lawyer. On Monday, I arrived at the elementary school where I teach to find flowers delivered to the front office. The card simply read "I'm sorry" with Henry's signature. The school secretary gushed about how romantic it was. I asked her to throw them away and made a mental note to explain the situation to the office staff so they wouldn't accept deliveries from him in the future. Yesterday, things escalated further. Henry somehow found out I had gone to the gallery with Amber. He sent identical messages to both of us, accusing us of conspiring against him and ruining his life. Amber called me immediately, and we both agreed to block his number and all social media accounts. Last night, Rachel and I were making dinner when someone began pounding on her apartment door. Through the peephole, I could see Henry standing there, eyes bloodshot, swaying slightly. Rachel called the building security while I sat on the kitchen floor, back against the cabinets, trying to control my breathing. Security escorted him out of the building, but he remained in the parking lot for hours. The security guard suggested we call the police, but I hesitated. Despite everything, the thought of Henry potentially getting arrested made me pause. Rachel reminded me that his behavior was becoming dangerous, not just annoying. We compromised by filing a report but not pressing charges at this point. This morning, I contacted my lawyer about getting a restraining order. The process takes time, and I need to document a pattern of harassment. I've started keeping a detailed log of every unwanted contact from Henry, including screenshots, times, dates, and witnesses. Amber suggested I change my routine for a while, taking different routes to work, shopping at different stores, varying my schedule when possible. She even offered to let me stay at her place for a few days if I felt unsafe at Rachel's. I might take her up on that offer. In the midst of all this stress, I received some unexpected good news. A teaching position opened up at a school in the neighboring city for the upcoming school year. It's a slightly better salary and would put some distance between Henry and me. I submitted my application yesterday. While at work, I've been trying to maintain a normal appearance for my students. 10-year-olds are surprisingly perceptive, though. One of my students asked why I wasn't wearing my wedding ring anymore. I simply told her that sometimes grown-ups make changes in their lives, just like kids do. She seemed satisfied with that answer and moved on to telling me about her science project. I never imagined my life would look like this. 7 years with someone, and it turns out I never really knew him at all. Update 2. It's been 2 months since my last update, and so much has changed. First, the good news, I got the teaching job in the neighboring city and found a small apartment nearby. I moved in 3 weeks ago, and even though it's nothing fancy, it feels safe. Most importantly, Henry doesn't know where it is. The restraining order was granted after Henry continued showing up at Rachel's apartment and my workplace. The final straw was when he followed me from school to a grocery store and created a scene in the parking lot, yelling about how I was destroying our marriage while several parents from my class watched in horror. The school principal witnessed the whole thing and wrote a statement for the court. With the restraining order in place and my new address unlisted, I've had some breathing room. The divorce proceedings are moving forward, though Henry is contesting everything he can. My lawyer says he's trying to drag out the process, hoping I'll give up and come back. What he doesn't understand is that every delay just reinforces my decision to leave. Rachel helped me move to my new place, and we've been rebuilding our friendship. She admitted she always felt Henry was trying to keep us apart, scheduling couple activities whenever she invited me out. We now have a standing weekly dinner date. As for Amber, our unusual friendship has continued to grow. After the restraining order was granted, she suggested we celebrate with a weekend camping trip. I'd never been camping before, but the idea of being completely unreachable, surrounded by nature instead of people, sounded perfect. We drove 3 hours to a state park, rented a basic cabin, Amber called it camping with training wheels, and spent the weekend hiking during the day and sitting by a campfire at night. With no cell service and no reminders of Henry, I slept through the night for the first time in months. During that trip, Amber told me more about her history. She grew up in a household where her father controlled everything her mother did, where she went, who she talked to, how she dressed. She recognized the same pattern in her first serious relationship and again in how Henry had behaved with both of us. That conversation made me reflect on my relationship with Henry in a new light. When we first met, I was young and inexperienced. Henry was a bit older and seemed so confident, so sure about everything. He always made decisions for us, which apartment to rent, which car to buy, which friends to spend time with. I thought he was taking care of me. Now I see he was controlling me. Even small things look different in hindsight. Henry insisted on driving everywhere we went together. He chose the restaurants when we ate out. He even selected my clothes as gifts so often that my wardrobe became full of items he had picked. When I wore something I had chosen myself, he would make small comments that made me doubt my taste. The weekend after returning from the camping trip, I went through my closet in the new apartment and filled 3 bags with clothes to donate, all things Henry had selected. Then I went shopping and bought jeans, t-shirts, and sweaters that I liked, without hearing his voice in my head questioning my choices. Last week, there was an unexpected development. Henry's sister Zoe contacted me. We were never close. Henry always said she was difficult and dramatic, so we only saw her at family gatherings a few times a year. Zoe asked to meet for coffee, and despite my hesitation, I agreed. Zoe brought a stack of papers to our meeting. They were printouts of emails between Henry and his therapist from 3 years ago, which she found while helping their parents clean out a storage unit containing some of Henry's old belongings. The emails revealed that Henry had been in therapy not to work on his work stress as he told me, but because of recurring issues with compulsive lying and infidelity in previous relationships. The therapist had urged him to tell me the truth about his past and his struggles, warning that keeping such significant secrets would undermine our relationship. Henry had apparently decided against taking this advice. Zoe apologized for bringing me such painful information but felt I deserved to know, especially since Henry was telling their family that I had left him suddenly without reason. I thanked Zoe for her honesty and shared some of what had happened. She wasn't surprised. Apparently, Henry had similar patterns in relationships before me, which the family had either excused or ignored. Zoe had distanced herself from the family partly because of their enabling of Henry's behavior. Later that day, I forwarded the emails to my lawyer, who said they could be useful in showing Henry's character and history of deception if he continues to fight the divorce terms. Yesterday, Henry violated the restraining order by sending me a long email from a new address. He claimed to be in therapy again and working on his issues. He asked for another chance and said he would forgive me for leaving and for conspiring with Amber against him. I didn't respond but forwarded it to my lawyer and the police officer handling my case. Despite these challenges, I'm slowly establishing a new normal. My new students and colleagues don't know my history, which is refreshing. For 8 hours each day, I'm just Miss Peterson, the new 5th grade teacher, not Henry's estranged wife or the woman with the dramatic divorce. Amber and I have continued our friendship. She's introduced me to her circle of friends, who have welcomed me without prying questions. Last weekend, we went to an outdoor concert, and I realized I had gone several hours without thinking about Henry or the divorce at all. There's still a long road ahead with finalizing the divorce and rebuilding my life, but for the first time, I'm looking forward rather than back. Update 3. It's been 6 months since my last update, and I've officially been divorced for 2 months now. The final court date was anticlimactic. Henry didn't even show up. His lawyer presented a doctor's note saying he was too unwell to attend. My lawyer told me this was a common tactic when someone doesn't want to face the consequences of their actions. The judge granted the divorce with terms largely in my favor. Since we didn't own property together and had no children, the main issues were the division of our savings and retirement accounts. The evidence of Henry's deception, combined with his behavior during the separation, influenced the judge's decision. The restraining order remains in place after Henry made another attempt to contact me at my school. He showed up during lunch recess, claiming to be delivering materials for my classroom. Fortunately, the front office staff had been briefed about the situation and called security before he could get further than the lobby. The school has been incredibly supportive, adding extra security measures without making me feel like a burden. I've settled into my new apartment and job. My fifth graders just finished their state testing, and their scores improved significantly from the beginning of the year. The principal mentioned the possibility of me taking on a mentor role for new teachers next year, which would come with a small stipend. Every bit helps as I rebuild my financial independence. Rachel and I still have our weekly dinners, alternating between our apartments. Last month, she introduced me to her new boyfriend. I was nervous about meeting him, worried it might bring up painful memories, but he turned out to be kind and thoughtful. Watching their healthy relationship has been educational in unexpected ways. I notice how they respect each other's opinions and make decisions together, with neither one dominating the conversation. Amber has become an important part of my life as well. Her art career has taken off after a prominent gallery owner saw her work and offered her a spot in a group exhibition. She sold several pieces and has commissions lined up for months. We celebrated with dinner at a restaurant we would have never been able to afford before. It felt good to commemorate her success rather than simply commiserating over our shared past. The most unexpected development happened about 2 months ago. Henry's sister Zoe reached out again, asking if we could talk. Over coffee, she revealed that Henry had been telling increasingly bizarre stories to their family. He claimed I was part of a conspiracy to ruin his life, that Amber was actually my lover before and during our marriage, and that we had planned everything from the beginning to steal his money. His parents were concerned enough about his mental state that they convinced him to check into a residential treatment facility. The doctors there diagnosed him with some serious issues that Zoe didn't feel comfortable sharing in detail. She wanted me to know in case he managed to contact me again after his release. I thanked her for the warning but assured her that the restraining order and other precautions were still firmly in place. Before leaving, Zoe mentioned that she was also seeking therapy to process the family dynamics that had enabled Henry's behavior for so long. We agreed to stay in touch occasionally, recognizing that we both needed to find our own paths forward. Last week, I woke up realizing it was exactly 1 year since I discovered Henry's secret Twitter account. Instead of dwelling on that anniversary, I took the day off work and drove to the beach. I spent hours walking along the shore, watching families build sandcastles and couples walking hand in hand. At sunset, I wrote Henry's name in the sand and watched the tide wash it away. It felt symbolic without being overly dramatic, just an acknowledgement that his presence in my life was receding with each passing day. On the drive home, my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize, so I let it go to voicemail. Later, I discovered it was a recruiter from a prestigious private school in the area. They had heard about my success with my current students and wanted to discuss a potential position for the next school year. The salary would be nearly double what I'm making now. I called back the next day and scheduled an interview for next week. Whether I get the job or not, the fact that someone recognized my work based on merit rather than connection to Henry felt significant. My apartment is now fully furnished with items I chose myself. The walls are decorated with prints of Amber's artwork and photos of my students' projects. Nothing remains from my life with Henry except the lessons I learned. Yesterday, I ran into one of Henry's coworkers at the grocery store. He started to approach me, then hesitated, clearly unsure what to say. I nodded politely and continued shopping. As I passed him in the cereal aisle, he quietly said, "You did the right thing." Then he walked away before I could respond. Those 5 words somehow validated everything I've been through this past year. The pain, the fear, the uncertainty, all of it led me here, to a life that's becoming increasingly my own. I still have moments when something triggers a memory. A song on the radio that Henry used to sing, the cologne a stranger wears that smells like his, a restaurant we used to frequent. But those moments grow shorter and less frequent with time. For anyone going through something similar, all I can say is this: the other side exists. The path to get there isn't straight or easy, but it's worth taking one step at a time. Thank you to everyone who has followed my journey and offered support along the way. This will be my final update. It's time to close this chapter completely and focus on writing the next one that belongs solely to me. Now let's move to the next story. Story 2. My mom called me crazy when I caught my boyfriend with my cousin in the bathroom, then her boyfriend sent me proof of their 4-month affair and hotel meetups. I need to write this down because I feel like I'm losing my mind. I never thought I would be making a post like this, but here I am. I, 24F, have been with my boyfriend Kyle, 24M, for 3 years. We met at my friend's housewarming party back in college. I wasn't even planning to go that night because I had a big exam the next day, but my roommate dragged me there saying I needed a break. That's where I met Kyle. He was standing in the kitchen making drinks for everyone, and he made me this amazing cocktail that he learned while bartending through college. We talked all night about everything from our favorite books to our dreams for the future. Kyle was different from any guy I had ever dated. He came from a good family, had a stable job as a software developer, and most importantly, he treated me like I was the most special person in his life. My family fell in love with him too, especially my mom. She lost my dad to cancer when I was 15, and she always said Kyle reminded her of dad, same kind smile, same gentle way of talking, same protective nature. Kyle would help her with house repairs, take her grocery shopping when I was busy, and even remembered her birthday when I forgot once. He became more than just my boyfriend, he became part of our family. That's why what happened last week has completely shattered my world. We decided to have a game night at our apartment. It was supposed to be a small thing, just some cards, drinks, and hanging out. My cousins Sarah, 22F, and Emma, 18F, were there, along with Kyle's best friend Mike, 25 meters, and his girlfriend Ashley, 23F. Sarah and I grew up together, our moms are sisters and we lived in the same neighborhood. We were close as kids but drifted apart in high school when she started hanging out with a different crowd. She's always been the wild child of the family, the one who would sneak out to parties and date guys our family didn't approve of. But she's still family. The night started out great. We were playing Cards Against Humanity, drinking beers, and smoking some weed that Mike brought. Kyle was being his usual charming self, making sure everyone's drinks were full and everyone was having a good time. Sarah was acting a bit weird though. She kept trying to sit next to Kyle whenever we switched seats between games, and she was laughing extra loud at all his jokes. I brushed it off thinking she was just drunk. Around midnight, I was sitting on the couch with Emma, trying to teach her how to play poker, when I realized I hadn't seen Kyle or Sarah for a while. At first, I didn't think much of it. People had been getting up throughout the night to use the bathroom or get more drinks from the kitchen. But after about 5 minutes, something felt off. Call it women's intuition or whatever, but my stomach started doing flips. I got up to check the bathroom, telling myself I was being paranoid. When I opened the door, I saw Sarah sitting on the toilet with her pants down. She quickly slammed the door in my face, but before I could even process what I was seeing, Kyle came out from behind the door. The look on his face, I'll never forget it. It wasn't guilt or shock or embarrassment. It was this blank, calculated look, like he was quickly trying to figure out what to say. I asked him what he was doing in there with my cousin. He started rambling about how Sarah was drunk and he was just making sure she was okay. His words weren't matching up though. When I asked him why it took 5 minutes if he was just checking on her, he kept changing his story. First, he said he was about to leave when I opened the door. Then he said he had just gone in there. Then he said Sarah had called him in because she felt sick. Nothing added up. I tried to make him understand how it looked by asking him how he would feel if I was in the bathroom with Mike with my pants down. He just stared at me with this empty look and kept repeating that nothing happened. The way he was acting made everything worse. He became extremely clingy after that, constantly touching me and calling my name like he was trying too hard to act normal. It felt suffocating and fake. I told him multiple times to stop because it was making me uncomfortable, but he wouldn't listen. He kept touching my arm, my back, my hair, calling my name every few minutes like he needed to make sure I was still there. It got so overwhelming that I had to excuse myself and go lay down in our bedroom. The worst part is that everyone else was too drunk and high to take this seriously. When I tried talking to Emma about it, she just giggled and said I was being silly. Mike and Ashley were passed out on the couch, completely useless. I felt so alone and confused. I still don't know what to think. I didn't actually see them doing anything, but why were they in there together? Why couldn't Kyle give me a straight answer? Why was Sarah okay with pulling her pants down with my boyfriend in the bathroom? What was so important that they needed to discuss it in the bathroom with the door closed? Kyle and I have been together for 3 years. We were planning to get married next year. We even started looking at rings last month. He's never given me any reason to doubt him before this. He's always been honest about where he goes and who he's with. He lets me use his phone when mine is dead, and he's never acted sketchy about his messages or calls. But now I can't stop thinking about what might have happened in that bathroom. Every time I look at him, I see him coming out of that bathroom with that calculated look on his face. Every time I look at Sarah, I remember her sitting there with her pants down. It makes me physically sick. I haven't told my family yet because I know how they'll react. My mom thinks Kyle can do no wrong. She'll probably tell me I'm overreacting and ruining a good thing. My aunt, Sarah's mom, has always defended Sarah no matter what she does. When Sarah got caught cheating on tests in high school, my aunt blamed the teachers for being too strict. When Sarah totaled her first car while driving drunk, my aunt said it was the other driver's fault. They'll both probably tell me I'm being paranoid and jealous. I feel trapped in my own home now. Kyle keeps acting like nothing happened, but he's also being weird about his phone suddenly. He keeps it face down now and takes it with him everywhere, even to the bathroom. Sarah hasn't reached out at all, which seems strange if nothing happened. Shouldn't she want to explain her side of the story? I don't know what to do. I can't even look at either of them right now without feeling sick to my stomach. Update 1. It's been 2 weeks since that night and everything has gotten so much worse. I couldn't keep pretending things were normal, so I finally confronted both Kyle and Sarah separately about what happened. Their reactions and what I've discovered since then have made me realize this runs deeper than I initially thought. I confronted Kyle first. I waited until he came home from work and sat him down in our living room. The same living room where we had that game night. He looked nervous as soon as I mentioned the bathroom incident. His story had completely changed from that night. Now he claimed he had knocked on the bathroom door because he heard Sarah being sick, and being the nice guy he is, he went in to help her. When I asked him why he didn't call me instead, since I'm her cousin, he started stuttering and said he didn't want to worry me. The next day, I went to Sarah's apartment. She lives alone since her last roommate moved out, which I now realize is convenient for her. When I brought up that night, her story was totally different from Kyle's. According to her, she had called him into the bathroom because she needed to tell him something important about my surprise birthday party they were planning. In April. It's January. When I pointed out how ridiculous that excuse was, she got defensive and started bringing up times when I had supposedly been jealous of her in the past. The inconsistencies in their stories made me start digging deeper. I reached out to my cousin Emma, who was initially too drunk to be helpful that night. After some prodding, she finally broke down and told me something that made my blood run cold. This wasn't the first time Sarah had been caught in compromising positions with other people's boyfriends. At our cousin Jessica's wedding last year, Sarah was found in the coat room with Jessica's then boyfriend Tom. Everyone kept it quiet because it was Jessica's wedding day and they didn't want to ruin it. Jessica broke up with Tom 2 weeks later, but no one ever talked about why. Emma said she didn't tell me earlier because Sarah had sworn everyone to secrecy and threatened to tell their parents about Emma's secret tattoo. Kyle's behavior has become increasingly erratic since I confronted him. He's gone from being clingy to being obsessed with my phone. He keeps asking who I'm texting and who I'm talking to about that night. Yesterday, I caught him reading my text messages while I was in the shower. When I confronted him, he said he was just trying to make sure I wasn't spreading rumors about him. He deleted all his social media accounts claiming he wants to focus on our relationship, but I think he's trying to hide something. The most infuriating thing happened 3 days ago. My mom called me out of the blue, asking if I was doing okay mentally. It turns out Kyle went behind my back and told her I was having mental health issues and imagining things. He painted himself as this concerned boyfriend worried about his girlfriend's paranoid delusions. My own mother suggested I seek therapy because Kyle is such a nice boy and would never do anything to hurt you. I was so angry I couldn't even speak. The fact that he would try to make me look crazy to my own mother shows just how manipulative he can be. Sarah has been showing up at our apartment unannounced almost every day now. She claims she needs to talk to me about that night, but every time she comes, she has a different version of events. First, she said she was just asking Kyle about good places to take her new boyfriend for dinner. Then she said she was feeling sick and Kyle was helping her. Yesterday, she said she needed to tell Kyle something about Mike that she couldn't say in front of everyone else. None of her stories make any sense. The worst part. 2 days ago, Sarah showed up when I was at work and Kyle was home alone. They talked for 2 hours. When I asked Kyle what they discussed, he said they were just clearing the air, but he couldn't give me any specifics about their conversation. How convenient that they needed 2 hours alone to clear up something that supposedly never happened. I've started noticing other things too. Little changes in Kyle's behavior that I didn't pay attention to before. He's been working late more often in the past few months. His phone is always on silent now. He takes long phone calls in the parking lot of our apartment complex. When I check our shared location, sometimes it shows him in places he claims he never was. When I ask about these things, he gets defensive and tries to turn it around on me, saying I'm being controlling and paranoid. Some of our mutual friends have started taking sides. Mike, Kyle's best friend, won't even look me in the eye anymore. His girlfriend Ashley has been avoiding my calls. It feels like they know something but won't tell me. The few friends who are still talking to me keep saying I should let it go because I didn't actually see anything happen. But my gut tells me there's more to this story. I feel like I'm going crazy. Every time I think I'm overreacting, I remember the look on Kyle's face when he came out of that bathroom. Every time I start to doubt myself, I remember how Sarah can't keep her story straight. I don't know who to trust anymore. The 2 people I confronted both lied to my face, and now they're trying to make me look like the unstable one. My aunt called me last night to tell me I need to stop harassing Sarah. Apparently, Sarah told her I've been sending her threatening messages, which is completely false. I haven't contacted her at all except for that one confrontation. It's like I'm living in some alternate reality where I'm the bad guy for questioning why my boyfriend was in a bathroom with my pantsless cousin. I don't know what to do anymore. I can't sleep in the same bed as Kyle without feeling sick. I can't look at Sarah's posts in our family group chat without wanting to scream. Everyone keeps telling me to let it go, but how can I when nothing makes sense and no one will tell me the truth? Update 2. A month has passed since my last update and everything I feared turned out to be true, plus more. The facade finally cracked when Ashley, Mike's girlfriend, called me last week. She had been avoiding me because she felt guilty about what she knew. That night of the game party, she wasn't as drunk as I thought. She had gotten up to use the bathroom right before the incident and saw Kyle following Sarah down the hallway. She said there was something off about the way they were acting, like they were trying too hard to look casual. Kyle had his hand on Sarah's lower back, guiding her. Ashley thought it was weird but was too buzzed to process it at the time. But that wasn't all Ashley had to tell me. Apparently, Mike had been covering for Kyle for months. Whenever Kyle said he was working late or having drinks with colleagues, he was actually meeting Sarah. Mike knew because Kyle would sometimes use his name as an alibi. Ashley finally came clean because she caught Mike deleting messages from Kyle asking him to lie for him again. She said she couldn't live with the guilt anymore. Then yesterday, I received an anonymous email. Someone had created a throwaway account to send me screenshots of conversations between Kyle and Sarah going back nearly 6 months. They've been meeting up for coffee and lunch dates behind my back. The messages weren't explicitly sexual, but they were full of flirting and inside jokes. They had pet names for each other. They talked about how much they enjoyed their secret meetings. Kyle even complained to her about me, saying I was becoming too clingy and suspicious lately. Reading those messages felt like being stabbed repeatedly. When I confronted Kyle with the screenshots, he broke down. Not because he was sorry, but because he got caught. He admitted they had been getting close but swore nothing physical ever happened. According to him, Sarah understood him in a way I never could. They shared a special connection. He actually had the nerve to tell me that I drove him to seek emotional comfort from her because I was always working too hard at my job. He tried to make it seem like I was responsible for his emotional affair with my own cousin. I called Sarah's mom to tell her everything, showing her the screenshots and explaining what Ashley had told me. Her response made me realize where Sarah gets her manipulation skills from. She defended them both, saying I was trying to ruin Sarah's reputation because I was always jealous of her. She brought up incidents from our childhood, twisting them to make it seem like I had always been the problematic one. According to her, I was making a big deal out of innocent friendship because I couldn't stand seeing Sarah happy. Kyle's parents got involved too. His mom called me crying, saying I was throwing away a good relationship over nothing. She said all men need female friends and I was being controlling. His dad suggested we all sit down as a family and talk it out. They refused to see what was right in front of them, the lies, the sneaking around, the betrayal. They kept pushing the narrative that I was overreacting to an innocent friendship. The final nail in the coffin came when I found a receipt in Kyle's jacket while doing laundry. It was for a hotel room from 3 weeks ago, right after I had confronted them both about the bathroom incident. When I confronted him about it, he came up with the most ridiculous lie. He claimed he needed a quiet place to work because our apartment was being painted. We haven't painted our apartment. We haven't even talked about painting our apartment. The receipt showed check-in at 2 p.m. and check-out at 6 p.m. on a Wednesday, right when he told me he was at an important client meeting. I showed the receipt to Mike, hoping his guilt would make him tell me the truth. He cracked and admitted that Kyle and Sarah had been using his apartment when he was at work, before they started meeting at hotels. He said he wanted to tell me sooner, but Kyle was his best friend since high school. Some best friend, letting him enable cheating and lying. The worst part of all this is how they've managed to twist the narrative in our social circle. People who don't know about the evidence think I'm crazy and paranoid. Sarah has been playing the victim, telling everyone I'm spreading lies about her because I'm jealous of her youth and freedom. Kyle has been telling our mutual friends that I've become controlling and suspicious, pushing him away. Some people actually believe them, even though they're the ones who've been lying and sneaking around for months. I feel like such a fool for not seeing it sooner. All those late nights at work, the secret phone calls, the sudden password changes on his phone, it was all there. I just didn't want to believe that the man I loved and the cousin I grew up with could betray me like this. But now I have all the proof I need, and there's no going back. Update 3. It's been 3 months since my last update and my life has completely changed. I moved out of our apartment while Kyle was at work. I waited for him to leave, called some friends, and we packed everything I owned in 4 hours. I left my key on the kitchen counter along with the hotel receipt and screenshots of his conversations with Sarah. I blocked him, Sarah, and anyone who defended them on all social media. I'm staying with my friend Lisa until I find my own place. The real truth came out in the most unexpected way. 2 weeks after I moved out, I received a message from someone named Chris. Turns out he was Sarah's boyfriend of 8 months. Yes, she had a boyfriend this whole time. Chris found out about everything when he borrowed Sarah's laptop and found her message history with Kyle. He reached out to me because he thought I deserved to know the whole truth. According to Chris, Kyle and Sarah's affair started long before that game night. They had been sleeping together for at least 4 months. The bathroom incident wasn't their first close call, it was just the first time they got caught. Chris showed me messages where they laughed about how close they came to getting caught several times at family gatherings. They had a system, they would arrive separately, wait for everyone to get drunk, and then sneak off together. They thought they were so clever. The most disgusting part. In their messages, they talked about how exciting it was to fool everyone. They got off on the thrill of sneaking around behind my back. Sarah even bragged to her friends about how she could steal my boyfriend whenever she wanted. Kyle told her she was younger and more exciting than me. They planned to keep their affair going even after Kyle and I got married. They had it all figured out. My mom still hasn't accepted reality. She tried to convince me to give Kyle another chance, saying everyone makes mistakes. She actually suggested that maybe if I had been more attentive to Kyle's needs, he wouldn't have turned to Sarah. I haven't spoken to her since that conversation. I don't need that kind of toxicity in my life. I've lost some family members over this. My aunt still maintains that I'm making a big deal out of nothing. Some cousins have taken Sarah's side, saying I'm trying to ruin her reputation. Uncle Steve stopped talking to me because I refused to attend a family dinner where Sarah would be present. But I've also found out who my real family is. Aunt Margaret, who always saw through Sarah's act, has been incredibly supportive. Emma finally stood up to her parents and told them everything she knew about Sarah's past behavior. The karma train finally hit them both. Kyle lost his job because he had been using company time for his hookups with Sarah. Chris exposed their affair to their entire friend group and family. Sarah's reputation is in shambles, not because of anything I did, but because her own actions caught up with her. Last I heard, she had to move back in with her parents because Chris threw her out of their shared apartment. I don't regret anything. My only mistake was not trusting my gut that night and throwing them both out immediately. I've started going to the gym again, reconnected with old friends, and even got a promotion at work. Sometimes losing toxic people is the best thing that can happen to you. To everyone who commented on my previous posts saying I was overreacting or that I should work things out with Kyle, I hope you never have to experience this kind of betrayal from the people you trust most. To those who supported me and helped me see the truth, thank you. You helped me find the strength to walk away. I'm focusing on myself now and it feels amazing to be free of all the lies and manipulation. Life is too short to waste it on people who don't value loyalty and honesty. Sometimes the best family is the one you choose for yourself.